Welcome to Inner Voice of Knowing podcast. I'm Kaye, a shamanic leadership coach and healer, guiding you through life with a foot in both worlds. When you understand the terrain of the inner landscapes, the mental, emotional, spiritual, and energetic, you will become the leader within your physical life, both personally and professionally. After all, the power of change is in your hands. Let's get this journey started. Welcome back, episode 4, Inner Voice of Knowing. And I'm really excited today because I've got my first guest in here with me today. And it's so appropriate because last episode was, the difference, I suppose, from, manifesting to what I call conscious crafting and creating. And the reason I've asked this beautiful guest, Nicole Croucher, welcome.
Thank you.
Is because, I've known Nicole for 18 years or something like that. And I've watched you do lots of quantum leaps, but this last one has been amazing to bear witness to. And I just thought you've got so much wisdom, especially from this fresh experience, to share. Mm-hmm. And you did say something, you've actually said 2 statements that I just love that are your own gems that you've thrown out there. So I just want to grab those in the process as well. So welcome, Nicole. Why don't you share with everyone a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Sure. I own a clinic in Joondalup where I'm a massage therapist, a Pilates instructor and personal trainer. I also work with energies. So massage or body work that I do, from sports and remedial to sound energy healing massage and reflexology. So yeah, I'm constantly working with my clients on a physical level, but also an energetic level, helping them to clear away false stories, beliefs, consciousness that doesn't align with who they truly are. And that's all happening at a deeper level. I'm a mother. I have 3 beautiful daughters. Yeah.
And you have had this vision that you've been consciously crafting and creating for a little while, but you felt that was, okay, that's like a year away.
Yeah.
What happened? Because you're in that premises now, and even though you've been working towards it internally, it just suddenly arrived. Why don't you talk us through that unexpected process?
So I've got a wide variety of skills or things that I do for work, and it was all sort of all over the place. So I had a clinic that I worked at with other practitioners. I rented a room there. Over COVID, I had to move my business home. Again, that felt like a backward step, but a right step at the time. So I was working from home for about 2 years, and then this premises came up where it would have been perfect. I could do everything under the one roof. Everything that I wanted to offer people would have all been in the one location. So at the time, although the premises was perfect, it didn't feel like the right time financially. 3 young children. There were a lot of reasons it didn't appear to be the right thing, but everything inside of me was saying, yes, this is it. This is yours. So with each step that I took, the door opened, and I ended up in my premises. So yeah, made the quantum leap. And then
what made you take that quantum leap? Because I witnessed you going, oh my God, and then this calm would come over you, and then you'd go, oh my God, this is happening, isn't it? And then that sort of oscillating feeling, and then this is happening. What was it that made you go, this is happening, and trust it?
So I've made leaps before in my life, and they all follow the same trajectory. There's a fear that comes up, then the false stories around that, or the reasons why, no, this isn't right, this isn't going to work. So meditation helps. Just there's a voice inside of me, my inner voice, my voice of knowing that never guides me in the wrong direction. When I meditate, that the volume on that, it comes up so I can hear it very clearly.
I was going to ask you about that, because I know that when I'm speaking to a lot of people, and we're both aligned with that understanding that it's an inner voice of knowing, it's really certain.
Yeah.
And so many people will say to me, yeah, it's a whisper.
Yeah.
But you're saying, dialing it up. So clearly it's not a whisper for you. Was it ever a whisper? And did it then, like tuning into a radio station, you turned up the volume and got aligned? Or?
Don't know that it was ever a whisper. In my life, when I have heard it, it's always been very clear, and it's not wordy. It's just very direct. It's a yes, it's a no, it's a do it. It's a very clear voice.
Yeah.
Meditation does help me clear all the other stuff that sits in my mind
the devil
out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I can hear those words, on their own.
Yeah, so the tools that you now draw upon, the way that you live and your understanding just keeps it more amplified.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay, so you're tapping into listening to that knowing, you're meditating, you're clearing away.
Yeah.
You said the fears and those false stories come up.
Yeah.
They're there to say, hey, you're heading in the right direction.
Yeah.
You're just going to have to grow.
Yeah. And the knowing that, it would be hard financially for a little while, like all of these things that I knew were going to happen when I took this leap. When the fear came up and it looked like, no, this wasn't going to happen, there was almost a relief, like, oh, thank God I don't have to do this. And then the roadblock cleared and it was back on again. I'm like, okay.
I love that, because a lot of people don't talk about that roadblock where you're taking the step, oh my God, you're doing, clearing subconscious false stories, beliefs, you're aligning with your meditation, you're listening to your knowing, you're doing everything to stay attuned to listening to that soul direction, I would call it. But people don't talk, they're always talking about being in flow.
Yeah.
But there is a point that it then looks like you're getting so close, and then there feels like that roadblock.
And it was easy. I was saying the old, it's not meant to be. And there's times when you've got to call bullshit on yourself.
Oh my God. I love that term. When you said to me the other day that you said to a client, do you ever call bullshit on yourself? Yeah. And I love that you did that in that moment, because using it's not meant to be is another form of excuse, don't you reckon?
It is. Like talking about in flow, it felt very in flow. All the doors were flying open and I was in flow. And then when the first roadblock came up, it's not meant to be. Like, am I out of flow then? No, it's all right, you're getting really close now. So we're going to, dredge up some old fears and some old programs that are there so you can clear them out of the way. And I had to do that to get me ready for this next step, this new me that I was stepping into.
So how did you process that? Did you verbalize it? Did you just call it straight up? What was the process for you when it was like, yay, I've got an out?
It was, I had to talk to someone that I knew would be objective, that I knew would tell me the truth.
Yeah.
And I've done it myself in the past when it's been so challenging, I may have reached out to someone that I knew would collaborate my fear. Whereas in this situation, I reached out to someone that I knew would tell me the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And then that roadblock.
Yeah, I call that other one the gathering the army.
Yeah.
And how did that feel when you called bullshit on what was happening. And it's like, okay, time to lean right into this. That's that real leap, isn't it, of faith and knowing. And
yeah. It feels like there's pressure as I was resisting. So it feels challenging and hard, and then finally kind of break through to the other side.
Yeah.
So there's and then, okay, it's not an excitement, it's almost that flow picks up again, that momentum picks up again.
What things do you call on? Because you've done this cycle. I remember years ago, you were bringing babies into the world, Nicole, and you had your secure full-time job. And I remember way back then you saying, oh my God, something along these lines. Oh my God, I need to give up my full-time job.
Yeah.
And you'd been doing massage, but then take this next level. So another, back then, which was another big quantum leap. How do you talk yourself through, or what do you do when you go, but I've got 3 children? Because I know some people looking in would go, you're so irresponsible, you've got 3 kids, project their own stories onto you and your choices.
First of all, I'm very careful with who I share new, aspirations or next steps with.
Yeah.
Especially if I'm in that vulnerable first few stages where I'm about to step.
Yeah.
When I'm more susceptible or more vulnerable to other people's opinions about that. So I'm very careful with who I share with. I have my I am statement. So I've got to build that, the new level that I'm stepping into. So I have I am statements around anything that I might be afraid of or fears. I want to, feed the opposite of that.
Yeah. How many of those do you have? Do you have a lot? Do you have?
At the moment, I'm just working with one.
Yeah, just to stay focused.
Yeah. These are my fears, not my truth. I'll either speak that out to someone that tool that you've given me is so powerful. These are my fears, not my truth. I speak them out, and then I state the opposite of what my truth actually is, which is always the opposite to the fear.
Yeah. It's amazing how something so simple becomes so powerful.
It just clears it.
And that is actually a free resource on my website for anyone that wants to download it. But it is
really
it is a powerful process. I know that you've gone to go through that process even just verbally over the phone, and then you've gone to say the first 1 or 2 and then gone,
I'm good now. Yeah.
Oh my God. It's like observing and then going, no, it's rubbish.
Yeah.
Rubbish.
It's just something that was sitting in there, and once I'd started to verbalize it.
Yeah. And if I can share with the listeners why that process is so powerful, because when a lot of people get to that place in, that big quantum leap and the process that is required and the growth that's required, you said it beautifully before, it's like the fears come up. Then the false stories and beliefs. And what a lot of people do is they try to suppress it and they try to get rid of it. And for me, everything has a right to be seen, heard, felt, and listened to, not necessarily to be the authority, just like, listening to a child that's, so-and-so has done this, and have they, darling, just hearing them, and then it all subsides. So doing that with our fears really does defuse them.
Yep.
And because it's like, I'm not going to keep them behind me like this big dark shadow and pretend they don't exist. 5 minutes, literally 10 minutes sometimes for the really big stuff, and it just starts to dissolve away, and then you've got the energy and the strength to do that lean in.
I've got a 8-year-old daughter who suddenly has developed a fear about going upstairs when it's dark. And the more we, tried to, it's fine, you're okay, the worse it got. As soon as we, she faced that, we went up with her, we turned on the lights, it dissipated, it went away. So
don't try to pretend it's not there.
Yeah. Shine the light on it.
Shine the light. Yeah, beautifully said. And so I like the fact that you say, you know, when those aspirations are new and you're still working through the process of it, working sort of, you know, that logic, and then the unseen, that guidance, that inner voice of knowing, the soul going, do this, do this, do this. I like that you said, don't be careful who you talk to.
Yeah.
So you don't get that injection of all their own projections of fears and doubts and subconscious agendas. Yeah, that's really important. I'll get people contact me on social media wanting to drum up work or whatever, and their first question fired at me is, so what's your great big audacious goal? I'm like, I don't know you. I'm not going to tell you what that is.
Yeah.
I hold that close. And listeners, you know, you've heard me talk about soul first and energy.
Yeah.
We need to look after, not protect like from a fearful thing, but protect, you know, that as you're moving through that new creation and moving towards meeting that future outcome and self that you are, think of it like a child. We protect that child. We just don't throw it into everybody's arms, and, you know, you share it around with those that you trust, that create safety, that have those same values that you know are giving love. So that's a really important one that you said, which is just don't, you know, you really protect that vulnerable change that you're going through. Really powerful. But and sort of backtracking as well with this last massive quantum leap, and really what you're leaping towards is that perceived future successful self that you haven't yet become, you are becoming, and leaping towards that. I love it that you say, you know, it didn't seem like the right timing, but it sort of felt like the right timing in terms of you're being strongly guided to do it. There's something that you said a couple of weeks ago that I think the listeners need to hear. Do you know what I'm talking about?
The common sense does not prevail. So, you know, the word common, it means everyone does it. It's commonplace. Those big leaps they never come from common sense. They're always maybe the opposite of what everyone else does or how we usually do it. If you want to bring about change in your life, it's going to be the opposite of how you would do what you've been doing. It's different. It's bigger. It's on the other side of the spectrum.
Do you feel supported in those processes of, God, I feel really uncomfortable, but I'm going to keep moving?
Yes, I'm never alone. I'm, you know, very, very spiritual. I know I call it God. God is always with me. I've got, you know, I protect my energy, and I'm very careful about who I surround myself with, who I select to share with. So I always feel very supported. I've created that for myself. So this last leap, even when we leap and we're in on this new platform, we're at this new level, then all our false stories and beliefs or things come up that we need to deal with. So those fragmented or depressed aspects of ourselves. So I've recently just had something like that as well, all to do with this recent leap. A part of myself that I needed to reclaim in order to expand into this new level of being. And around that is new boundaries and an acceptance of self at a whole new level, and you're becoming a new person, or more of who you're supposed to be or who you were at some point.
And some people would call that, you know, the reclaiming of an inner child aspect. And I hear you saying basically that that aspect that you've reclaimed holds the energy that you need returned
to be successful in this new
venture
platform. Yeah.
And I love that we're having this conversation, because I personally get a little bit tired of witnessing, say this for 20 days and it's going to all happen. The reason I was asked a question last night, because I was recorded for a summit, and it's about the abundance mindset. You know, why does it not happen for some people and for others? And talking about the growth process that you've been going through. And all these changes and lean-ins and reclaiming aspects of self to reintegrate that energy to become that next version that matches the resonance of that which you're continuing to aspire to and building, because you're in the dwelling now. It's now building the business whole next level. We have set capacities for allowing, which are aligned with those false stories and beliefs, you know, around money and around relationship and around connection and around health and well-being and all. It's, you know, it's like when you go to the hotel and you try to change the temperature, and then you get up and it's automatically gone back to a particular setting, 22 or something, and I'll try to drop it to 19, and I get up a little bit later, go, God, it's warm, and it's back to 22. We're like that. So we're having to not just change the mindset, those, you know, and realign to new beliefs and reprogram to new beliefs of allowing and deserving and worth. Then also you've talked about that emotional shift to go through, and then the reclaiming of aspects, and then the leaning in and trusting that unseen and that inner voice of knowing, regardless of what the mind is trying to tell you. You know, don't do it. You've got 3 kids. Don't do it because, you know, the risk. Don't do it. Do you feel like there is actually risk in the journey that you're doing, or is that illusionary, or is it real for you?
Risk is illusionary. Oh, it absolutely feels real when I'm in that place. It feels real, and sometimes it feels realer than others, but there's still that voice in there that, you know, that I contact via meditation, or when I really am, the fear grabs hold, that voice has got to scream at me sometimes, like, that's bullshit, it's not real.
And you say when you run, because you're not one of those runners that's got the music and stuff going. You just run in nature, don't you? Like when I do my power walks, and it's like, just listen. Listen to the world around and listen to the voice within.
I get so many insights when because I'm moving my physical body, I'm not in my mind, and just all this insight.
So it's like a moving meditation. And I feel like that gets blocked out if we're listening to other things that, you know, we just need to spend some time where we're present with the world around us and the world and the voice within us.
That's the temptation, isn't it? When there's discomfort and there's fear, well, how can I distract myself from this? I don't want to feel like this.
Exactly. Distractions, tipping point behaviours that we sort of go into to go, hold on a moment, I'm growing and I'm getting closer. I better come back to what I'm familiar with, you know, where we sort of self-sabotage with.
And then we just recreate everything we're afraid of and go back to where we were before.
Do you get support? Do you invest in yourself during those moments, or do you power just through yourself?
No, I invest. I have coaching programs that I've done with you. The most recent ones, the first program was the aspiration setting, and there was more to it than that, but the physical goal. And then the second program was then the spiritual journey that needs to happen, the deepening, the going down into the self, and in order to support this new goal. Like it was, and then after the programs had finished, then the real work started, because I had to play out in the physical world.
But you got doubly coached. So not only did you do my 2 programs, the launching pad and then the elevation of you, it was in the launching pad that you brought this soul goal in way faster than you expected, but always in the perfect time, in the perfect way. You then also dug deep after doing a leap with big outlays financially, right? So you've got the big outlays, you're in the middle of this leap. There's no ground beneath you, so to speak, a bit like the fool on the tarot card, you know, you leapt off, or all the images that we see where you're on one cliff leaping to the other. That was you, right? So all this financial outlay, all this stuff internally to deal with. And you invested in my program, and then your knowing told you to invest in another coaching program. How do you do that when you go, oh my God, I'm stretching myself so financially? And then is that the level of connectedness and trust you have with that inner voice of knowing?
I trust it implicitly. It's never led me wrong. So even when it sounds so crazy and so impossible, I will always trust it and follow it.
And so when you feel like you don't have the pockets to dig deep into because you've spread it out in this massive leap, how did you make that other coaching happen? Because this is important, because a lot of people will do the excuses then, oh, I can't because. And I just wanted to paint that picture because you are so courageous. And that's what it does take. It takes a level of courage to do it through. It's like you've got these 2 worlds, the internal going, keep going, you're good, it's fine, you're safe, you keeps, you know, and then the other part going, holy cow, what am I doing? So how did you pull that one off?
I asked for a payment plan. I found that very difficult to do. I don't like asking for help. That's one of my, but we have to. And she could have absolutely said no. She's absolutely beautiful and agreed that, you know, that was okay. And I was able to then do this other amazing program and really get clear on who I was as a business, and it was amazing. I got so much out of it.
The investment in self pays off, doesn't it? And
absolutely.
we all have that moment, as you said, all the fear coming up, all the subconscious false stories and beliefs, all the trickery of trying to pull us back to what feels safe, familiar, common sense, you know. Have you ever not achieved the outcome whenever you've done those leaps, Nick?
Never. Always achieved.
Always achieved it. Yeah.
When it's a soul goal and I'm guided from my inner voice of knowing, success is imminent.
Oh,
it
that's
may
powerful.
not
chills. That's so powerful.
Pan out in the way I think it's going to, but it ends up being better and more than I ever could have imagined.
Yeah.
Did
you feel supported when you're taking all these leaps, right? So you take the leap. This is before you, big outlays, a lot of work ahead of you. Invest in my program, invest in this other program. You've got a lot going on, you know, pulled away from your children more because you've got your focus to be everywhere else. You find the courage to go, I really need to do this right now. This is how I can do it. Did you feel an alignment around you? Did you receive unexpected things that then said, okay, well done, and we'll show you that support now that you've shown yourself that support?
Yeah, support comes in ways you can never. I've learned that if I'm standing there waiting for support from a certain direction, it's you've got to be open and allow that support to come in. However.
Was there unexpected money? Was there unexpected, you know, suddenly clients start rushing in?
There was all of that.
Yeah. I always, you know, people are quite often waiting for the sign, and sometimes the sign's there, but we ignore it. But we've also got to remember that, you know, for every step we take forwards, God, source, universe, whatever you like, is taking
you've got to be in
more
action.
towards us.
Yeah,
you got to be in action.
That's the momentum. That's the flow.
Yeah.
You've got to be moving.
Yeah.
And then the support will come in.
And then when it all comes together. And did any of it happen in your timing that you wanted it to happen?
No, it never does.
Yeah. But does it when it unfolds and you feel like, okay, you're that river and you've just flown over and around an obstacle rather than being bounced around it, does it feel the right timing then when it finally unfolds?
And reflecting back, that's why. So that could happen. And then right. That
you see the bigger picture.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but not necessarily at the time.
Yeah.
So what pearl of wisdom would you like to leave our listeners with? And, you know, before you let that one, because you've delivered so many, I just want to say thank you for coming in and being so open and so honest.
Well, thank you.
Because so many people are just like, oh, you think this, you do this, and, you know, and then it all happens. And it's like, we are soul and energy.
Yep.
And we've got to work with the seen and the unseen. But we've also all got that human condition. And I don't know about you, but the joy for me is when the full creation of that lands. Yep. It's like being at the top of the mountain. I don't feel excited. I just feel like I've arrived.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very calm.
Thank God.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's like an expansive.
Yep.
It's not an over the top amazing thing. I think when it's over the top amazing, we weren't really knowing that it was going to happen.
Yeah.
So it's more for me. I don't know what it's like for you, but that I've arrived. I've done it.
It's quieter.
I've landed.
Yep.
I've expanded.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm now in the familiar of what I was creating.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
That's exactly. It feels familiar because it's you've been creating it. You've had the vision for so long.
I'm
home.
Familiarity.
Yeah.
I'm home. I've arrived.
Yeah.
And then let me enjoy it for a little while before I go for the next aspiration.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Beautiful. So what pearl, what piece of gold, whatever you'd like to call it, would you like to finish on?
Just leap. Everyone's got an intelligent inner voice inside of them. Listen to it, clear away the rubbish that's in your mind. Yeah. Stop the distractions and take the leap. I can do it, you can.
Just leap. I love it. Thank you so much, Nicole, for coming in and being just so open and so real and so wise and so beautiful.
Thank you for having me.
Join me on my next episode. And if you love this podcast, please subscribe by clicking on the plus button if you're on Apple, or like and follow on Spotify, rate and review. And please share Inner Voice of Knowing with your friends.